Here we go. How to wire wrap elf ear cuffs, part 1. This is made after only 24 hours of experience, so, there's a lot I'm still learning. So using the 22 gauge wire, I made the ear cuff part. Then I Pinterested a bunch of images of them so I could figure out what shapes I actually kind of knew how to make. Then I made those also out of the 22 gauge, and then I used the 28 gauge to wrap. Now it's really important that you tuck in that little tail because you don't want to be stabbing yourself or anybody else. And then, though the name suggests it, you literally wrap the wire around. And I don't know why I was so mind blown by that, but I was. You can do it really tight all the way around, but I liked this spirally look when it was kind of looser, so I went with it like that. I have the one that I made previously as my reference so I can see exactly where I attached them before, in the hopes that when I made this tutorial there wouldn't be a lot of mistakes, but that was a mistake and I had to re-straighten out my wire, but you can do that. So then here I start wrapping it with this other piece to connect it also to the ear cuff. And I'm just now realizing that I probably should have recorded how I made that ear cuffy part, but I didn't. I just looked at pictures of what they look like online. I made sure that the longer end was in the back so that that little bottom part can loop over your earlobe, and so that the top front part is what is your little elf ear. And I'm saying it like it's really obvious, but the first two I made were not like that, and I kept wondering why they kept looking so weird. So I'm saying to learn from my mistakes. Some of the tutorials I watched said to use that first reference to see how long you needed to make your tiny wire, but I don't like doing that because I don't like working with really long pieces of wire because it's harder for me. So I don't mind just cutting kind of small clips and then, pliering it down flat and then re-weaving a new piece in. So I do really tight wraps whenever I'm attaching a thing to a thing, and then I go back looser again because I'm also just trying to be frugal with my wire and not use quite as much wire, and doing the looser spiralies helps me with that. And basically you want to make sure that any of your little design parts are going to be able to attach to another part, either directly to the cuff or to the other little designy parts, which I guess I'm gonna have to show in part 2 because I didn't get that far. It took me about 20 minutes to do this part, about 30 for what I'm gonna have to edit down for part 2, and maybe about 10 to 15 to do the first part of the little pieces and the cuff. So I guess in total it's about an hour for each one, but I don't know if that's just because I'm really slow and starting or if that's normally how long it takes. I go back and forth between using my fingers and the pliers because sometimes one is easier than the other. And I see people have fancy pliers, but these are just the ones I have. Let me know if you have any questions so far, and I will definitely try to make sure I answer those in part 2. Thank you. I hope I didn't wait too long to finish editing this video, but here's part 2 on how I finished these elf ear cuffs. I wanted to make this one a little bit slower because I don't think I was able to show a lot of the wrapping because I was trying to show how you connect all the other parts. So I do have a little bit more close-ups in this one. So look, you can see how it goes wrappy, and you kind of can just pull really tight, and often you can get it into those really tight little rings. Close up. I also wanted to show how I did this part. I wanted it to look like a leaf, and it doesn't look like a leaf at all, but I'm going to learn how to do that because I want to learn how to make little wire wrap leaves. So for this, I wrapped it around the little loop-dee, but I feel like it reminds me of, did anybody do those string game things whenever you learn how to do Jacob's Ladder? And I remember always getting so annoyed because Jacob's Ladder is all zigzaggy. It doesn't look like a ladder, not to me anyway. And this reminds me of Jacob's Ladder, and that's kind of what I think it looks like. I use the pliers to put together any of the little tight rings that are pretty close. And then I didn't show all of this, but basically you kind of figure out how you can wire wrap any of the little bits to each other so that, they're not wiggling around anywhere. I did try on a different pair to just cut tiny pieces of wire and just do little loop-dees there. And I'm gonna tell you that that's a lot harder. It was not a good idea. Always check your reference. See, I wasn't even sure where to go after this because I couldn't remember what I did in the prior one. Even in the prior one, I was just winging it and was like, well, as long as they match, And so I kind of feel like if you're learning how to do something like this, just go for it, just figure it out on the first one, and then you get to check it. And there we go. I finished both of them. That was it. I think they look kind of cute. The cool thing about them is that since they're made out of wire, you can bend them to your ear, if that makes sense. Like, I think I kind of show it somewhere. That's them. This one I had to fix, but then you'll see it gets fixed. There we are. but the bottom little part was hanging out, and then I had to like mold it around my ear. But you can do that, and that's what's cool about wire. All right, I hope this helps. Please leave me any questions that you have, and I'll try to answer them. Thank you.